Good evening, everyone. You're watching Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali, and I'll be taking you to top news across Canada.
Toronto seeing spike in Mpox cases, officials. SIU investigating after 2 teens seriously injured in Oshawa collision involving driver who fled traffic stop. Canada's foreign worker program, breeding ground for modern slavery report. Pregnant women in hospital after rollover in Scarborough. Maple Leafs fans react to Austin Matthews reportedly becoming captain. Man trapped in trench in Etobicoke rescued, rushed to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. More than half of Ontario corner stores have been licensed to sell beer and wine as of next month.
Those were the headlines, and now let's look into the details.
Toronto is reporting a spike in Mpox cases, and health officials are urging eligible residents to get vaccinated to contain the spread. In a news release issued Tuesday, Toronto Public Health said it has been 93 confirmed cases as of July 31st. This time last year, the city's case count stood at 21. The latest numbers indicate that there were 13 new cases confirmed in Toronto over the last 2 weeks of July. According to TPH, Mpox cases have been reported across the city. However, a higher concentration of infections has been observed among residents in the downtown core. In March, TPH confirmed it had seen 21 cases of the virus since January 1st, a sharp increase compared to 2023 when 27 infections were reported throughout the entire year. Later that month, Ontario health officials urged public health units to test the virus amid an increase in infections across the province. The news comes ahead of an emergency meeting by the World Health Organization Wednesday to determine if the rise of infections in Africa and beyond should be declared a global emergency. Mpox, also known as monkeypox, was declared in a global emergency in July of 2022 after the virus spread to more than 70 countries. Prior to 2022, Mpox had mostly been seen in sporadic epidemics in Central and West Africa when people came into contact with infected animals. Symptoms of Mpox usually start within 6 to 13 days after exposure, but can take as long as 21 days to appear in some cases. Symptoms include fever, chills, muscle aches, and a rash. TPH said that most people recover from the virus on their own within 2 to 4 weeks.
Just looking at the 2024 calendar year, Ontario had 102 cases of Mpox. Most of them were locally acquired, not brought in from another part of the world. And if you compare that with all of 2023, we only had 33 cases. So we have locally acquired Mpox in Ontario. Our outbreak in Ontario has predominantly been in the men who have sex with men community. In fact, over 96% of all of our cases in Ontario have been in men. So, risk is not equal. And of course, we've had a very large public health response and with leadership from the men who have sex with men community to make sure people are aware of this infection, make sure people know what the risk factors are, lower barriers to vaccines, get the vaccines out there, lower barriers to treatment.
The province's police watchdog is investigating after a driver fleeing a traffic stop became involved in a collision in Oshawa and left 2 teenagers seriously injured on Monday night. The Special Investigations Unit said a Durham police officer tried to stop a driver of a BMW who was speeding on Thornton Road in Whitby at 10:30 p.m. However, the driver fled and later collided with a Nissan Rogue on Winchester Road in Oshawa, the SIU said. The driver ran away, but 4 passengers in the BMW remained at the scene. Paramedics responded and 2 passengers, a 17-year-old and 13-year-old, were transported to the hospital for sick children in Toronto with serious injuries. The other passengers of the BMW were also taken to a local hospital, but their injuries were not considered serious, the SIU said, adding that the 2 female occupants of the Rogue were not seriously injured. Meanwhile, with the help of a police dog, the 16-year-old driver of the BMW was later located and apprehended. The SIU said he was taken to the hospital for treatment. His injuries were not serious. There is no word on what charges the driver is facing. On Tuesday, the SIU announced that it had assigned 2 investigators and a forensic investigator to the case and had designated 1 subject official and 3 witness officials. The SIU is an arm's-length agency which investigates the conduct of police that may have resulted in a death, serious injury, or allegations of sexual assault. A recently released international report says Canada's temporary foreign worker program is a breeding ground for contemporary slavery. The final report by United Nations Special Reporter who visited Canada last year says a power imbalance prevents workers from exercising their rights. A worker's status is dependent on a closed work permit that is specific to their employer. If an individual is fired, they may be deported from Canada. Workers are subject to a wide range of abuses and aren't always aware of their rights, the report says. It notes the government puts much of the responsibility for informing workers about their rights on the employer despite the obvious conflict of interest. Special Reporter Tomoya Abokata cites reports of issues including wage theft, long working hours with limited breaks, and insufficient personal protective equipment. The report also notes allegations of sexual harassment and exploitation, along with physical, emotional, and verbal abuse. Abokata also found that workers have difficulty accessing health care. In some cases, employers prevented people from seeking treatment, the report says, with some workers denied the necessary time off, encouraged to take painkillers or home remedies instead, or even fired. The report notes that rules implemented in 2022 require employers to make a reasonable effort to provide workers with access to health care if they are ill or injured. It also points out that many employers end up providing housing for their workers. That can result in overcrowding, such as 20 to 30 people sharing a single washroom, it says. The report calls for Canada to end labor migration arrangements that foster exploitation by creating dependency situations that tie workers to their employers and in which employers control the workers' housing, health care, and status. The number of permits under the program increased 88% from 2019 to 2023, though Ottawa recently indicated it plans to reduce the number of such workers in Canada. A pregnant woman was taken to hospital after she lost control of her vehicle, which rolled over and landed beside a building in Scarborough this morning. The single-vehicle collision occurred at a long-term care home and daycare near Ellesmere and Nielsen Roads. It appears the driver lost control of the SUV and struck a rock in front of the building before rolling over and coming to rest against an exterior wall. Paramedics said a woman was transported from the scene to trauma center in serious condition. Speaking to Awaz News, Toronto Fire District Chief John Pagnott said the woman, who is 6 months pregnant, was successfully extricated from the vehicle and taken to the hospital as precaution. Police are still investigating the circumstances surrounding the collision. Austin Matthews, the Toronto Maple Leaf star center, is sent to become the franchise's 26th captain, according to reports. Expect the Toronto Maple Leafs to name Austin Matthews captain on Wednesday. This is part of the evolution of Matthews as a leader, and current Maple Leafs captain John Tavares fully supports the change. Hockey fans gathered near Legends Row, where many former captains are honored outside the Scotiabank Arena, and share their opinion about Matthews with Awaz News. Perry Shepard from Cox Cove said he thinks Matthews should have become captain a long time ago. Since being drafted first overall by the Leafs 8 years ago, Matthews, who hails from Scottsdale, has won the Calder Trophy as Rookie of the Year, 3 Rocket Richard trophies as the NHL's top goal scorer, and the Hart Memorial Trophy as league MVP. The 26-year-old would be the first American-born captain in franchise history. Tavares from Mississauga has been in the role since 2019. Some hockey fans across Canada don't think Matthews should take the lead. But when asked if Matthews is that leader, Gallis said to me, no. Former Leafs player Dale McCourt's son Derek echoed Gallis' sentiments, adding that he prefers longtime Leaf player Morgan Riley. I like Matthews. He's a terrific goal scorer. There's no question about it. But I think it should be someone who stands up for the team and shows character in the dressing room. And I think Riley has that over Matthews, McCourt said. Matthews has scored 368 goals, 281 assists, and 649 points since he started playing with the Leafs. A construction worker trapped in a trench in Etobicoke has been rescued and rushed to the hospital, Toronto police said. According to Toronto Fire Services TFS, it received a call at 5:15 p.m. for rescue at 28 Ravensbourne Court in the area of Islington Avenue and Eglinton Avenue West. The male worker reportedly fell 4 meters down, the TFS said. Other workers had been trying to dig him out before fire crews arrived. In a post on Twitter at 6:30 p.m., Toronto police said the worker, a man in his 30s, had been extricated and taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. The circumstances that led to the incident are unknown. Convenience stores can start selling alcohol off their shelves in about a month, and so far, more than 3,850 have obtained their liquor licenses to do so. A spokesperson for the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, AGCO, confirmed to Awaz News that as of August 12th, it had approved 3,866 convenience stores licenses, with about 42% of those licenses being for gas stations. That means that more than half of the approximately 6,700 convenience stores in Ontario are already licensed to sell beer, cider, wine, and ready-to-drink alcoholic beverages starting September 5th, the first Thursday after Labor Day weekend. Newly licensed grocery stores can begin selling the same alcoholic drinks to customers starting October 31st. The AGCO said stores are barred from selling booze beforehand, even if they have already received their liquor license. As the government ramps up its plan to sell alcohol in more places, the AGCO also confirmed to receive additional funding from the province for staffing to increase compliance and enforcement activities. Eligible convenience and grocery stores must meet several criteria to hold their liquor license established under the province's Liquor License and Control Act, including a wide-ranging compliance monitoring process. Employees must be at least 18 years old and complete an AGCO board-approved training program before a store can sell alcohol. Though some grocery stores operate 24 hours, all licensed locations must only sell liquor within the province's permissible time frame from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Sunday. Additionally, grocery store licensors are only permitted to sell beverages with an alcohol content no greater than 7.1% by volume and cannot sell wine with an alcohol content greater than 18%. License holders must comply with their obligations at all times or risk regulatory action, which includes monetary penalties, suspension, or revocation of their license, depending on the severity of the situation. About 10,000 Liquor Control Board of Ontario workers returned to work on July 22nd following a weeks-long strike in response to Premier Doug Ford's alcohol expansion plan, as their union claimed that it posed an existential threat to the workers' future. The union signed a 3-year deal granting workers an 8% wage increase during that time, the conversion of nearly 1,000 casual employees to permanent part-time positions, and the promise there will be no store closures over the course of the agreement.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.